Nikola Jokic won his third MVP award in the NBA. And guess what? People are upset about it. People want to make Jokic apologize every year that he wins the NBA MVP. Last night, it was Shaquille O'Neal, who I thought, and again, I'm a huge Shaquille O'Neal fan. I find Shaq likable, but I did not like him last night. He put Jokic on the defensive with his comments that seemed very, very personal to me. Shaq seems very upset that he only won one MVP, and now Jokic has won his third. But this is what happens when you turn the sports media world over to athletes. You don't end up with an adult conversation. You end up with a personal conversation. And you end up with a conversation that has a tinge of racial idolatry. We'll talk about that and more today. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me. Man, oh man, do we have an awesome show for you today. Skapanac's going to be here. Steve Kim's going to be here. We're going to start off talking about Shaquille O'Neal and Nikola Jokic winning the MVP award and all the jealousy towards the Joker. We'll start there. And then we're going to beautify this entire place. I know you guys get tired of looking at me and you want to see some beauty on the set. Man, are you going to see it today. Shemeka Michelle is going to be here with us via Skype. In studio, Breanna Morello. You guys have hopefully been following her work. She's a new conservative Christian social media influencer, heavy in the news lane. Breanna's in studio with us here in Nashville. And so is Ari Jacobs, a woman that was canceled by Taylor Lorenz, or the New York, it was the New York Times when Taylor Lorenz worked there. They tried to cancel her. Ari was a social media talent agent. And so we're going to have an entire discussion, three lovely women, and we're going to have a lot of conversation about what's going on with women in the media, what's going on with women as social media influencers, what's going on with Gregg Doyle and Caitlin Clark. All of that covered today. Sit back. We'll be a little long today, so hopefully you got some time, because we got some time for you today, and we're going to try to make the most of it. First thing you guys can do is check out the extra Fearless content on Blaze TV. Go to blazetv.com/fearless. Use the promo code FEARLESS, and you can save $20 on your yearly subscription. Today's episode, like a lot of episodes, are brought to you by our good friends at Good Ranchers. Use my promo code FEARLESS at goodranchers.com. And with your subscription, you can claim free American Wagyu burgers for a year. That's a $400 value. And you can support our veterans this Memorial Day season. Thank you, Good Ranchers. Be good to Good Ranchers, because they're so good to us. Now, let me transition into today's topic of the day. Nikola Jokic, in a not very close vote, won his third MVP award in the past 4 years. This should be his fourth MVP award in the last 4 years. They stole last year from him and gave it to Joel Embiid. If you guys remember, Kendrick Perkins took a dump on Jokic last year and turned the whole conversation racial. And the next thing you know, Joel Embiid is the MVP when he really didn't deserve it. Well, this year, the voters have kind of struck back. And let's put the MVP results up on screen. Jokic won in a landslide this year, and I think he's the right choice, but it should have been closer than what it was. I think he received 79 of the first place votes. It was a blowout. SGA, Shai Alexander came in second. Luka Doncic came in third. I believe one of the Luka's, I think, from Slovenia. I'm spacing out on where Jokic is from. I think Shai Alexander's from Canada. So three guys from outside the United States go 1, 2, 3 in the MVP vote. That's bad enough. You throw on it that Jokic being white and setting off the racial idolatry that is commonplace now in sports media. I didn't expect Shaq to join in, but looking back in retrospect, I'm not surprised. Let's take a listen to Shaquille O'Neal complaining about Jokic winning his 3rd MVP.
The 2024 MVP from the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic.
And we congratulate the Joker, who for the 3rd time is the Kia MVP of the NBA. 26 points a game was number 10 in the league. 12 rebounds was number 4. 9 assists was number 3. Had 25 triple-doubles, second most in the league. 68 double-doubles was second in the league. 31 games of at least 10 assists this year. 23 games with at least 15 rebounds. And Nikola Jokic claims his 3rd MVP award. Shaq, your thoughts?
I don't like to rain on people's parade, but I'm not happy with this one. Congratulations to Joker, you are the best big man in the league, but based on everybody's criteria, my criteria, stat stuffer, you guys' criteria, number 1 seed, which team has a better record, I felt Shai Alexander deserved it because I've been number 2 a lot, and I played my ass off number 2. So the fact that he has to start all over next year and try to win it again, I think it was. I know it's going to be hurtful for him. Hopefully he uses this to motivate him to win a championship. But I thought, and again, no disrespect to the Joker, best big man in the league by far. You could have went this way, but I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of only a few players that had 30 points 50 times, stat stuffer, great season. His team is number 1. Nobody expected him to be number 1. I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to win it by far, but congratulations to Joker. I'm happy for him. 3rd time MVP. You really can't be mad at this vote, but the fact that he has to start all over next year and win it over again, because again, I felt I was robbed 2 or 3 times, right? And I played my ass off. Stat stuffer, won championships those years, but again, no disrespect to the Joker, but me personally, I would have gave it to Shaq.
You keep throwing stat stuffer out there.
No, because that's my criteria for MVP.
Does Nikola Jokic not stuff the stat sheet?
Yeah, but not like Shai.
Really?
Shai is one of the few players that had 30 points in 50 games, Ernie.
Every year, idiots get on TV and talk about who's the best player. It never goes to the best player. It goes who had the best regular season. Shaq said he got robbed.
Not every year it doesn't.
Well, most of the time. It goes to the guy. Yeah. So, Shaq said he got robbed. I don't know if he got robbed.
I got robbed because I was the baddest mofo in the league.
But
let's talk about now.
It doesn't go to the best player. It goes to the guy who had the best regular season.
Well, you know what? Don't name me most valuable player then. Don't name me most valuable player then. It goes to the most valuable player in the league. That was me.
It does
most
not.
Most valuable player in the league, that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Well, don't name it that then.
Jokic is arguably the best center in this millennial right now. There's no question that he is. He's won a 3rd MVP. I would have to agree with Shaq on this regard, that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has taken his team to heights that no one expected. And that actually hurts. Being great like Shaq was and Jokic at times, it hurts. They're like, oh, well, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that.
There's an expectation.
So that's Shaq turning Jokic's MVP award into an argument about what happened to Shaq 20 years ago. Are you kidding? I like Shaq. And so I just want to enter that into the record. But Shaq, man, cut it out. We got to cut it out. What Joker just did has nothing to do with what happened to Shaq 20 years ago. How do we do this? And I give Ernie credit for pushing back against Shaq. You talking about he's a stat stuffer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Jokic isn't? when they rattled off, did they say he was 10th in scoring, 3rd or 4th in assists, and 5th or 6th in rebounds or whatever? The man nearly averaged a triple-double. That's not a stat stuffer. His team finished with the best record in the Western Conference. On a divisional tiebreaker, they lose to OKC, and OKC is the number 1 seed. And I get that what Shai Alexander did this year was impressive, and he deserved to be in the MVP race. But to throw a tantrum like Jokic has no argument when we know they stole the MVP from him last year, and he came back and had a similar type season this year, and they finished with the best record in the West, and we got to stop it with the athletes and their whole personal agenda and the lack of discipline here. You just rained on this man's parade because you're still upset because one time you finished second to Steve Nash in the MVP race. One time. The other time Shaq finished second, it was David Robinson. And this was early in Shaq's career. He finished second to David Robinson. Shaq only won 1 MVP, and maybe he should have won more. But he played in an era that was stacked with a lot of guys in his era, and Shaq, playing alongside Kobe a lot of times, didn't get all the credit that he would have gotten if he wasn't playing with another guy who has a right to say, I'm one of the top 10 greatest players of all time. I mean, Kobe's, if he wants to be mad at somebody, not Steve Nash, not David Robinson, not MVP voters, you played alongside Kobe for a long time or a good stretch of time in Los Angeles, and that hurt your MVP case. Again, you're playing alongside someone who many people consider one of the 5 greatest, or maybe some people believe he's the 2nd greatest player of all time. That hurts your MVP case when you're in your prime and you're playing along somebody who is just as good as you, more driven than you, takes the game more seriously than you did. I'm not taking a dump on Shaq. I'm just putting these facts out here. But wow, that was not a good look last night. Jokic wins his 3rd MVP. They bring him on air, and Shaq feels it necessary to tell him, hey, man, I just want to tell you that I didn't think you deserved the MVP. And I'm just like, oh, my God. Is every time one of these white guys wins the MVP, somebody's going to throw a tantrum? Last year it was Kendrick Perkins. And he cost Jokic an MVP. When Steve Nash won the MVP, everybody had a big discussion about, is Steve Nash being favored or blah. Those Phoenix Suns teams were really good. They were finishing with the best record. They were playing a style of basketball. Steve Nash was scoring, leading a high-flying offense, leading the league in assists. Again, could Shaq have won that MVP, I believe, in what year is this, 2003 and 4? Over Steve Nash? Yes, there's a good case for that. But Shaq played alongside Kobe Bryant. That was a blessing. And that cut down on Shaq's individual awards. But Shaq going after Jokic is about protecting Shaq's legacy. Now there's a center out here, another one, that's got 3 MVPs. And that puts Jokic, like, Kareem's got 6. I think Bill Russell had 4. And now Jokic is out here with 3 and a title. And Jokic isn't playing with any All-Stars. Jamal Murray has never made the All-Star game. Shaq played alongside one of the greatest players in NBA history, Kobe Bryant. I'm going to bring in Jay Skapinac. You guys know him as Skapinac. He's been on the show before. And then we're going to get to Steve Kim. But Skap, did they pick the right MVP for this season?
Jason, there's no question about it that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. He impacts winning more than anyone else in the league, and he was absolutely the deserving MVP this season. He should have been the MVP a year ago. There's a lot of things to clean up on that Open. That was a tremendously packed Open that you just laid out there, Jason. But one thing that I want to slide in here is that one of the best determinants of impact on winning games in the NBA that is very valued by MVP voters are on-off metrics. It gauges how many points you add with your presence on the court. So how many points per 100 possessions do you add when you're on the court versus off? Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was by far the best of all of the MVP candidates other than Nikola Jokic. He added 10 points per 100 possessions that he was on the floor. Nikola Jokic added 19. So with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being by far the second best MVP candidate in that metric, Jokic nearly doubled him. So there's no argument that he didn't impact his team winning more than any other player in the NBA this season. And, I want to add one quick thing on the Kobe Bryant piece. I just got to slide this in for my guy. People that know me know that I'm a huge Kobe guy. Kobe Bryant has 11 top 5 MVP finishes end of the year throughout his career. 11. No player in NBA history has more top 5 finishes at the end of a season than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and LeBron James. Kareem had 15, LeBron had 14, Kobe had 11. No other player had more. Yet Kareem has 6 MVPs, LeBron has 4 MVPs, Kobe has 1 MVP. So if there's anybody that could be complaining about snubbing, it would be Kobe, who he never did before his untimely passing. He never complained about these kind of things. Shaq looked like a selfish, spoiled little brat last night. It was really off-putting. I too am a big Shaq guy. But just real quick to expand one more thing on what you said. Not only did he play with Kobe, he played with Penny Hardaway in Orlando, and he played with Dwayne Wade in Miami. All 3 of those players were first-team All-NBA guards, Jason. All 3. Penny was first-team All-NBA at the 2 when he was playing with Shaq. Dwayne was first-team All-NBA in Miami there, and Kobe was a perennial first-team All-NBA guard. As you said, Jamal Murray has never even made a single All-Star game. Let's get Nikola Jokic a first-team All-NBA caliber guard and see how many championships he can go to and how many he can win.
Scap, you made me dig into my stat sheet treasure chest because I know there are people out there who's like, hold on, Kareem, LeBron, Kobe, where's Michael on that list? Michael, 10 top 5 MVP seasons. I'm accurate on that, I think. And
that's correct. And Russell had 10 as well.
Yeah. Bill Russell had 10 as well. So how many did Shaq have? Now I got to go back and look that up.
Shaq had eight top 10 finishes, and he finished 2. Like you said, he finished second twice, and he won once.
Gotcha. So I just a horrible look for Shaq, and to turn this into a discussion about Shaq makes a lot of people go, hold on, man, some of this has to be some of that anti or racial energy or something like, man, a white guy stole it from me, Steve Nash, and now, Jokic is stealing something from me. Because Jokic, let's say he wins 2 more championships before his career is done, which is a possibility. Not going to happen this year, and Anthony Edwards in Minnesota could be a problem for a long time. But let's say that he did. If Jokic retires with 3 titles and 3 MVPs, people are going to argue, and maybe it only takes 2 titles and 3, and people are going to argue he was better than Shaq, and that's what Shaq's trying to protect.
Yeah, Jason, and it's going to be more than 3 MVPs, to be honest with you. Nikola Jokic has been dominating the NBA in the advanced analytic metrics, which for those listeners out there that might not understand or might not know what advanced metrics are, they're a collection of these crazy little acronyms that voters have been obsessing over for years now. Most notably BPM, which is box plus minus, and win share per 48 minutes. Those are basically the two biggest determinants of league MVP at the end of a season. If you go back 12 years to 2011, 10 of the last 12 league MVPs ultimately led the league in win share per 48 and box plus minus. Nikola Jokic is the all-time career leader in both of those metrics, achieving something LeBron James never could. In 21 years, he could never eclipse Jordan in either of those. Nikola Jokic now, at the age of 29, is the all-time NBA leader in BPM and win shares per 48. So there's really, I don't see any end to this dominance. He has led all 5 major advanced analytic categories, those 2 that I mentioned, along with value over replacement, PER, and standard win share. He's led the NBA for 4 straight years in those 5 metrics. LeBron James led the league for 5 years in his peak. And in those 5 years, LeBron won 4 league MVPs in the 5 seasons. So now Jokic next year is likely to lead in all 5 of those categories again. It's not unreasonable to suggest that he is going to win his 4th league MVP in 5 years. And here's the rub. If you didn't have a problem with it when LeBron James was doing it, you shouldn't have a problem with it now that Nikola Jokic is doing it. He is dominating the league every bit as much, if not more, than LeBron James from an advanced standpoint. And Jokic won a championship in this span without a super team. LeBron needed the Miami juggernaut to win the 2 championships that he won in those 5 years. I would say what we're seeing out of Nikola Jokic is every bit as equivalent to what LeBron James did in his peak. And yet everybody wants to get on TV and call out Nikola Jokic for some reason, while they're all calling LeBron James the GOAT or the second best behind Jordan.
Scap, great stuff. Thank you. That was awesome.
Yes, sir.
We needed that. Thank you, Scap. Awesome job. Hey, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about our friends at Prize Picks. Testing your skills on Prize Picks this playoff basketball season is the most simple way to get in on the action. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and submit your lineup. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. If you have the skills, you can play for a shot at turning your $10 into $1,000. Prize Picks offers injury insurance so that your lineup stays in play even if one of your players gets injured this playoff basketball season. If you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, Prize Picks will have your back and not count that as a loss. My mom, she's got that gambling bug. She's had it for years, like maybe 80 years. Here's her picks for some of tomorrow's Nuggets-Wolves Game 3. Wow. She's got Anthony Edwards, more than 39.5 points, plus rebounds and assists. Mama, I like that pick. Nikola Jokic, more than 12.5 rebounds. Like that. Jamal Murray, less than 20.5 points. Don't like that, Mama. Jamal Murray's got his back to the wall. He needs to deliver. Download the app today and use the code FEARLESS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks. Stay tuned. Steve Kim, next. There are voices and songs crying out for men to live up to their biblical responsibilities, to correct a corrupt and broken culture. We can no longer afford to ignore the tug on the heart that all good men hear and feel. We have lost our way, and we know it. You can see it in the eyes and actions of scared, frustrated, and confused children. Free speech, it's under attack. The meritocracy, it's been scrapped in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Identity politics separates us by color. As we step further and further away from our identity in Christ, Satan steals the innocence of children. Join me,
We need courage, not perfection.
John Rich,
You're the benefactor of the fact that the founding fathers recognized that's where your inalienable rights come from.
Glenn Beck,
You are the leaders of freedom and liberty in the world.
Mark Robinson,
Ain't but two genders.
Pastor E.W. Jackson,
But I owe my identity not to my race. I owe my identity to the Lord Jesus Christ.
and members of the Fearless Army in Nashville on Saturday, June 1st for Roll Call 2.0. Visit fearlessarmyrollcall.com to reserve your spot at the men's summit that will restore your faith and your resolve to fight. Guys, and gals, I could not be more enthusiastic about this new sponsor we have, Lumen. Lumen is going to be my weight loss companion. Just got it in the mail today. This little gadget here that I connect to my phone is going to measure my metabolism first thing in the morning, throughout the day, so that I know whether I'm in a fat burning zone or a carb burning zone. This thing is awesome. It's tailored to give you guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or mostly carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, and more. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, like me, go to lumen.me and use Fearless to get $100 off your Lumen. That is LUMEN.me and use Fearless at checkout for $100 off. Thank you so much, Lumen. You guys know I've been battling the bulge. I've been plateauing a bit. This is going to be the key to my continued weight loss journey. I've connected it to my phone this morning. Can't wait to get started first thing tomorrow morning. Come join me on this health journey that I'm on. Get yourself a Lumen.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 reason that I'm back is to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 so fly.
Steve Kim, we just heard from your boy Skapinac with an awesome breakdown on why Jokic deserved this MVP. Steve, I want your thoughts really more on the tantrum that Shaq threw last night. One of the lowest moments of his broadcasting career, and I know he had a rough start to his broadcasting career. I like Shaq a lot. I did not like him last night.
Yeah, just want to mention one thing. I happened to look up Jokic's number. He was one rebound away from averaging a triple-double. That's amazing, given the position that he plays. That's the standard that he has set. And Jason, what do I say? The standards that you have for somebody is what you think of them. So by the reaction that everyone is giving Jokic in this MVP, they must really think a lot of him, whether they want to admit it or not. But Jason, in terms of the Big Diesel, I think this goes back to a lot of his own career, given the fact that even though he was the most dominant player for at least 7 to 8 years, he only has one MVP. Now, I look back at it in 2000, first year with Phil Jackson, Lakers had a great run. They won their first championship in the Kobe Shaq era. Shaq was absolutely the MVP. And if it wasn't for, I think, Fred Hickman, he would have been the first and only unanimous MVP selection in the history of the league. So then I remember this, that the year that he went to Miami, there's a strong argument that it should have been him and not Steve Nash that should have won it. So that's another one that he left on the table. But here's the other thing, though, and this is where, again, the consistency of Jokic has to be credited. And to me, consistency is also a mark of greatness. I'll never forget, Jason, in the 2000-2001 season, Shaq basically celebrated the championship and his MVP, not with a victory lap, a victory Boston Marathon. And he came completely out of shape. He wasn't that good the first 2-3 months. And one of the most memorable things of Kobe Bryant's career, Jason, I don't know if you remember this, they did an ESPN cover story in December or January of that season where Kobe basically said, yeah, that guy over there, he came in fat and out of shape, and Phil wants me to slow it down. No, I'm actually going to ramp up my pace because no one's slowing me down. And if he doesn't get in shape, he's going to get left behind. So again, I think Shaq is hearkening back to his own career where he says, well, wait a minute. I know I'm better than Jokic. I'm the MDE, most dominant ever, but I only have one trophy. I think a lot of it goes back to that, Jason.
Steve, let's go to that second place finish to Steve Nash. He's playing in Miami. Dwayne Wade, he's playing alongside Dwayne Wade, who is 23 years old and, is really coming into the peak of his powers. When you play alongside Dwayne Wade and Kobe Bryant, it makes your path to the MVP trophy a lot harder. That's just a fact of life. Kobe Bryant has a claim to be one of the 5 or 10 greatest players of all time. Dwayne Wade, I think, has a claim to be one of the 20 best players of all time. That will stand in the way of you winning an MVP. He's just got to deal with that. It's not racism, it's his teammates.
Jason, do you know that Shaq never led the league as the most dominant, most athletic, explosive big man we've ever seen? He never led the league in rebounds or block shots. That's an indictment in my view. And look, say what you want about Jokic, but he fills up that stat sheet in almost every box, right? And you bring up Kobe. Kobe only has one MVP. That was the 2008 year where they ended up getting blown out in the 6th game by Boston. I don't even think that was his best year. There was at least 2 other years before all of this happened, before Pau Gasol arrived in LA, where he had to carry guys like Smush Parker, LaRon Profit, Chris Mim. I remember those games. I mean, they're literally 3 weeks at a time. He's scoring 45 points a game. But the problem was, at a certain point, the MVP became directly tied to winning. Now, you can agree or disagree with that, but that was the standard. So a guy that's on a 7th or 8th place team was never going to win it. And there was no doubt in my mind, there was a 4 or 5 year stretch where Kobe was the best player. So, Jason, the question I have for you is, when we define MVP, what exactly do we mean? Do we mean the best statistical player, the best player in terms of ability and performance, or the one that gives you all of that and the intangibles and then wins games? What exactly is the definition of MVP?
So what Shaq can argue appropriately is just about for the entire stretch of his career, he was the most valuable player. If you just take those words, no. I'm not talking about performance, but again, you put Shaq on the court at his size. He created so much space and opportunity for everybody around him. His value's indisputable. Did he perform at an MVP level all the time? No. And so he hit the genetics lottery. He's 7'2" or whatever he is. He can carry 320 pounds. There's no solution for him physically. So he was that valuable. But did it always show up on the court? And did he give people his free throw shooting and being taken off the court at the end of the games? The point that you're making is like, if Shaq wanted to be as great a rebounder as Wilt Chamberlain or Dennis Rodman, all he had to do was put his mind to like, that's what I wanted to do. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to have fun. He wanted to play his way into shape. He frustrated Kobe. He's playing alongside all-time great players. I'm telling you, I love Shaq. And I understand his value. But what Shaq doesn't understand is just like, hey, man, that's great. You hit the genetics lottery. You show up in a game that values size. You create space for others. Yes, you're valuable and all of that. But did your performance actually lend itself to that? And not all the time did it. And I'm somebody that, I mean, my history of defending Shaq goes way back. I was when Kobe ran him off, I was like, Kobe, man, that's a mistake. Big dude, deal with it. You guys can win too many championships together. But Shaq's in some denial here, and I think that part of it, and again, I know Shaq's not racist in any way, but I do think he feels like, man, these white guys are getting MVP trophies. Steve Nash has 2. Now Jokic has 3, and I'm better than them. Well, you needed to go out on the court and prove it, Shaq.
Jason, you talk about his rehab and how we would wait till November, if not maybe October. He would say, I'm going to do this on company time. And so, okay, so you do it on company time. Well, that's going to hurt your performance. And this is a regular season award. Okay, so I don't want to hear that, well, Jokic and the Nuggets are going to get run off here. That may be true. But then in that case, let's have a whole referendum on Joel Embiid's MVP from last season. Now, here's the issue. Let's go back to Shaq. There's no doubt he's one of the greatest big men ever. But I'm going to surmise, as a Laker fan in recess who used to be a diehard, hardcore fan, during that first three-peat from 2000 to 2003, yes, Shaq was the most important guy. But, and I'm not part of the cult of Kobe. I've made that clear. I've had my issues with him. The Lakers do not get out of the West without Kobe Bean Bryant, because in the Western Conference, which was much better than the East, there was no one else on the Lakers that could beat someone off the dribble and create their own shot from the wing and the perimeter. And there's at least 2 years where I said to myself, without little number 8, there is no MVP in the finals for Shaq when he got matched up with big men that weren't nearly as good. Okay, so I think that history to me needs to be really examined. Look, Shaq deserves credit. He was number 1 on that team. Kobe was not 2. He was 1A. They played off each other very well. But Jason, I'm going to make a prediction right now because based on what you said about Shaq getting sick of certain people winning the MVP. It's undeniable that there is a Jokic, if not a white European fatigue among people that cover the game. So with that said, short of Jokic averaging 45, 20, and 10 next year, he will not win the MVP. They're just going to give it to Edwards.
Scap just made the opposite argument that Jokic is going to come back and be dominant, even more dominant next year.
That's what he's going to have to do then. That's what he's going to have to do because, Jason, I recall 2 athletes that actually should have more MVPs than they do, and they won a lot. Every year from 1988 on, which is the first year I believe Michael Jeffrey Jordan won the MVP, he was the best player every year he played. He should have won the MVP every single year because if you look by performance, impact, and influence, even years when my beloved Magic Johnson won it in 89, 90, I'll be honest with you, it was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was the best player. Then he went to go play baseball. And then the great Akeem Olajuwon and then David Robinson rented that trophy. Then the last 3 years, one of those years, you can make an argument for Karl Malone, right? But really, let's be honest, it was the guy in Chicago. So literally, Michael Jordan in that respect is actually underrated. Another guy, Barry Lamar Bonds. Yeah. I don't want to hear about how he did it. They were all kind of doing it. There were at least 1 or 2 years that he was the best player in the National League, if not all of baseball. I remember 1 year they gave it to Terry Pendleton, and I think another year his teammate Jeff Kent won it. Both years I remember thinking they really hate Barry Bonds. Let's face it, he was not a media darling, but there was also a fatigue. I think Jokic fatigue starts to set in next year, short of him having this 45-point game average.
Steve, thank you so much. Great job as always. We'll see you down the road. I want to give one last stat before about Shaq. So in his 3rd season, he finished 2nd in the MVP to David Robinson. And then the next 4 years, and that MVP is 94, 95, he's playing with Orlando. The next 4 years, he played 54, 51, 60, and 49 games each season. He took himself out of the MVP race because he just wasn't available. You can't be the most valuable player if you're not available. 54 games, 51, 60, and 49 games. 99-2000, he wanted to win the MVP. He played 79 games. He won the MVP. He only played, take that back. He never played 79 games ever again the rest of his career. The most he ever played after that was 73 games. He played 74 the next, 67, 67, 67, 73 games his first year in Miami, and he came in second to Steve Nash in the MVP voting in that year. The rest of his career, 59, 40, 61, 33, 28. That year in Phoenix, he played 75. Again, availability is very, very important, and Shaq just wasn't that available. Part of it had to do with him not being in the greatest shape, being a tiny bit injury prone. Shaq did it to himself. Before we transition the show and we beautify the set and beautify everything on camera, guys, I want to talk to you about Craftco. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has provided life-changing scholarships to the spouses and children of America's fallen or disabled in combat. And in 2023, this was extended to include the families of fallen first responders. They've awarded 51,000 scholarships and more than $200 million so far. And the need is still great, but together, we can make sure no qualified applicant is turned away. Flying Ace has aligned with Folds of Honor to ensure the children of our American heroes receive the education they deserve. As proud supporters of Folds of Honor, Flying Ace has had the privilege of providing hope for the families of those who protected our freedom. To that end, Flying Ace is proudly sponsoring 4 scholarships awarded quarterly this year. Please, if you can, donate today and help them make a great impact. Go to flyingacespirits.com or scan the QR code on the screen right now. The link is also in the show notes. When you purchase a bottle of Flying Ace, you will also be donating to Folds of Honor. Make sure you use the promo code Whitlock and get free shipping on every order. That's flyingacespirits.com, promo code Whitlock. Stay tuned, guys. It's going to look a lot better when we return. Do you know how you're going to spend the first day of Pride Month? I know how I'm going to spend it. Honoring God, my Lord and Savior, fellowshipping with other men who are concerned about the direction of this country. I'm going to spend it right here in Nashville, Tennessee, leading Roll Call 2.0 alongside country music star John Rich. John and I have partnered on this annual event to inspire men to live up to their biblical responsibility of leadership. John's going to sing, I'm going to speak, so is Blaze founder Glenn Beck. We've invited basketball coaches, football players, singers, successful entrepreneurs, North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, Pastor E.W. Jackson, author Vince Everett Ellison, and contributors of the Fearless Army to speak and fellowship with us. You can join us in Nashville June 1, or you can celebrate Pride Month. It's your choice. To join us, visit fearlessarmyrollcall.com and reserve your spot. These are a group of women dancing with yarn, it looks like. And so see if you can make sense of this. I mean, I look at a video like this and I go, someone's paying $70,000 a year for their kids to be standing around looking at this.
That's a damn shame.
And thinking they're doing something here. That we're raising a group of nut jobs.
You're just coming off stupid.
I'm coming off as stupid. You're wearing tuxedos to a job that requires you to clean bathrooms.
I mean, we're raising a group of, they're paying $70,000 a year at some Ivy League school to raise yoga instructors.
My name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents.
They look like deltas, actually, not light-skinned enough to be AKAs. Probably Delta Sigma Thetas. Welcome back. And as I warned you before in the last segment, the show has never looked better than it's about to. The First Lady of the Fearless Army, Shemeka Michelle, joining us from North Carolina. In studio, Breanna Morello. She has the Breanna Morello Show on Rumble and on Twitter. You guys should be following her. And then Ari Jacobs, Little Miss Jacob on YouTube. She gives great advice to content creators. She used to be a talent agent for content creators. Now she's just a friend of mine and a friend of the show. Thank you, ladies, for all joining me. This is a very exciting moment for our audience. They get tired of looking at me. And now they have a perfect opportunity to totally ignore me. But I have a series of topics and questions for us to address. Please, I know Shemeka already knows this, but don't worry about me. Don't worry about offending me. Don't worry about agreeing with me. Worry about just saying whatever it is you think, and I would appreciate that. It'll make the show better. So we'll just start here with my entire theory of like, I'm glad there are women in the content influencer space and in the media, but you know, it's my desire to see women toughen up, and I'll start by talking about what happened with the ESPN reporter and Patrick Beverley, an NBA player who bullied this woman, and I didn't like the way she handled it. I didn't like the way the crowd handled it, but I'm gonna sit back and see what you ladies think. I wanna play you guys this clip of Patrick Beverley bullying this woman who worked, longtime producer at ESPN. This was a controversy a week ago. Let's play the clip.
Here.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before I finish.
Yeah.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not subscribe.
So you can't interview me then. No
Okay,
disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe.
My face, please. Yeah,
Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Didn't like it. And I don't want to just put the woman in the spotlight. I didn't like the way the rest of the crowd in that circle, everybody should have said, are you crazy? What are you doing? And she should have never left. I've been bullied by athletes. Obviously, I'm a big man and I used to be a big dumb idiot. And so, you know, a little bit different of a standard than some woman standing up to some athlete who's being aggressive. But I didn't like the way she handled that. I'm going to say, Breanna, you fire first. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a little aggressive, I'd say. I think she should have stood her ground because honestly, let's be real. Athletes will give you a lot of credit if you stand your ground and you go back and you push back. But when you're sitting there and you're weak and you kind of just bend the knee and you drift off to the side, no one's going to respect you. But then for her colleagues, I mean, time and time again, I used to obviously work over at MLB and I would be in the huddles and things like that do happen. And you have to defend your fellow journalist. I mean, you have to stick together when you can. No surprise there. I would have never backed down, though. I would have probably tossed some choice of words back his way with that type of treatment.
Well, I feel like I'm a rookie in this room because I have been somewhat, quiet and behind the scenes representing people for many years, but and I don't know her personality. Obviously, that was incredibly rude and aggressive. I just wish she kind of would have been like, oh, really? Well, your podcast's not that popular then because I didn't even heard of it. What is your podcast? Tell me about it because I only know about, Travis Kelce's podcast or whatever. Maybe it would have been funny, but I don't know her personality. But yeah, absolutely. I agree with you guys that that was just, and he was very clearly pointing her out of anybody else. Did he ask anybody else if they followed?
It's part of his shtick. He does it with the media. I think she was a tiny bit unfamiliar. The media all pounced on Patrick Beverley, but that's not the first reporter he's done that to. He's kind of hard to read.
Are we supposed to know everybody's sense of humor in the sports and media world? Because, by the way, like, you know, we just met Antonio Brown, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. But if I didn't know you, how am I supposed to know what your personality is? I guess if that's your job, you know a little bit more. But yeah, I don't think that was fair.
Shemeka, what would you have done there?
Well, as you know, Jason, I have been bullied in front of a lot of people when I had to do that black left versus right debate. And I think initially she did good by just gathering herself and not saying anything and still holding the mic there. Once he began to push the mic and continue bullying her, I think definitely maybe people should have stepped in, but I know if I was her, once you put your hand on my mic, I would have said something, and it probably would have started out with, I know you don't like that word, but I'm just telling you how I would have responded once he decided to get physical. I think she handled it good initially, but then he continued to press her, and he was a real butt wipe for that.
And so you didn't finish that statement because you wouldn't have just left it there. You would have added a please at the end of that, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. Please, and a few more other words.
And so I'm just, because again, I made my living for 25 years, 20 years, going into locker rooms, dealing with athletes, and I was always notorious and infamous. I'm shocked, and Shemeka, I'll start with you, and then we'll hear from Ari and Breanna. I'm completely shocked that no man or woman jumped in there watching that, and it was like, hey, and you know, maybe not N-word, please, but like, have you lost your effing mind? I can't believe no one stepped up for this woman.
You know, I would probably say the same thing, Jason, had I not been in a situation and no man stepped up for me. I think it just depends on the type of men that were in the room. Some men are not confrontational, or some men feel like it's not even their job to protect a woman that's not their wife or their girlfriend. I know there are certain men that in that situation when the guy thought he could talk to me any kind of way, there are certain men in my life that would have handled that, and he would have never spoken to any woman like that again. But some men just aren't that way. So I'm not surprised. Had you asked me this question 2 years ago, I might have been shocked. But I see men every day that just tuck their tails and cower and just don't stand up.
I can't blame them. I mean, look at what happens all the time when men try to intervene. We see it all the time on subways in New York City. They get into all these fights. You don't want to get in the crosshair. And most men nowadays kind of bow out. It's kind of an old school thing to think that you have to stand up for women and to intervene in those types of situations. So I understand why a lot of them don't. But also, sports writers really aren't the toughest.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the sports writer world. I just know that media in general is pretty cutthroat. I wonder if these people are just looking out for themselves. I want the time with this person, and I don't really care. I'm surprised nobody thought that wasn't going to go viral, because to me, it would have immediately been like, did he do this on purpose? Like, did he think he didn't seem like it was joking at all. I mean, at first, maybe I would guess that I would be a little bit shocked. Maybe he was joking and kind of back off, but if I were there, I would have been like, this is going viral tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what? This reminds me of something y'all have no reason to remember or know, but I wasn't thinking about it beforehand. But there's, and you guys and Justin or David Reed, maybe you can look up what was written about me when LeVar Ball and Christine Leahy got into it. LeVar Ball is the father, notorious NBA dad, 2 kids, LaMelo and Lonzo, in the NBA. He was a, kind of a hot air guy that would go on ESPN and Fox Sports all the time, say all these outrageous things. He got into a conflict with a woman that worked on Colin Cowherd's show, Christine Leahy. She was Cowherd's sidekick, and LeVar kind of got aggressive with her, and they went back and forth. And I didn't think LeVar was way out of bounds, but I'm looking at Christine Leahy. She's probably 26 years old. And so I think it was either that day or the next day, I went on Cowherd's show and I defended Christine Leahy and attacked LeVar Ball. Like, hey, man, cut it, grown man. He's like 50 years old, little 25, 26-year-old. And I'm just speaking locker room style, like 25, 26-year-old white girl. Why are you bullying her? And I called him out on it. And then everybody dumped on me and said, oh, how dare you cape up for this blonde white woman? But that's not what I was thinking in the time. I wasn't thinking, people were like, you like Christine Leahy, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, why is this man picking on this young woman? She's saying something. She didn't like his parenting style with his two kids, which was not an uncommon opinion among people in the sports media world. But I did take a lot of flack for defending Christine Leahy. I moved the conversation away from her and put it on me, and people from Charlemagne the God to everybody just started criticizing and dissing me. So there is some risk if men are like being programmed not to follow their instincts, and our instincts are to defend women. And so if that had been Shemeka or if that had been anybody, I would have been like, hey man, cut this out. You want to fight with somebody, fight with me. I'm the experienced person. I'm the person that says really aggressive opinions. She's Cowherd's sidekick. She's just starting her career off. But yeah, I've taken a lot of crap for that for a long time.
Yeah.
I would just say that I'm not even sure if it's necessarily a men defending women thing. Sometimes it's just alliances in media. When I got into a tussle with the New York Times, I was very surprised that I had friends at Latin stations that I thought, okay, well, I was born in Mexico City. I'm a Latina woman with a business. Why won't they share my side of the story? And their alliances with either the reporter, with the New York Times, there's also alliances, I feel like, that we don't always know about, of why somebody doesn't want to get in the middle of something that doesn't have anything to do with them, to stand up for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it's the new world that we live in. No one's going to stick their neck out for you. You've got to be able to defend yourself and defend your grounds. And, you took a lot of flack. I don't think a lot of people want to deal with that. And I think especially with you coming out and saying it, people probably saw that. A lot of journalists saw that and don't want to be the next one under fire. Just the new world we live in.
And
yeah, let's be clear,
Breanna,
though.
Go ahead, Shemeka.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have an issue with him saying that to her until he started to push the mic away, because we know most women cannot beat a man. So what could she have done physically to defend herself? That to me is when he crossed the line. Now, as a woman myself, I can go back and forth with you. I can have a verbal spar. But once you start to push your weight around as a man, that to me makes you bitch. And that's when I had a problem, because what could she do once he started, get that mic out of my face? She couldn't really buck up at him, because how do we know how he would have responded? So for me, that's when it crossed the line. I thought it was fine initially when he was just running off at the mouth. Did you put, are you subscribed to my podcast? But at the point where he was trying to push the mic out of his face and stuff, I thought that was too far. And I do feel like some man in the room should have said something, because there was nothing that she could say or do to defend herself at that time.
So take the media out of it, and Shemeka, just start as women. We have a culture, and maybe I'm wrong here, but we have a culture that is programming, pressuring, inducing men to go away from just defending women and feeling like, hey, let me open this door. Let me make sure you're safe. And again, there's this, people flee, and again, this is a global culture where this is going on, not just in America, but we can see it here in America. But remember the picture of the iconic photo of the people fleeing Afghanistan when we pulled out, and they showed how many men were actually on that plane?
Yeah, it was all men.
And then someone compared it to, go look at the stats of the Titanic. So if we go the clock back, 100 years and go look at who survived the Titanic. Men chose to die to save women as it relates to the Titanic tragedy. That culture is now gone. And so just as women, not as media people or whatever, do y'all feel that like, man, they really turning men into cowards and men don't have our back?
I think that's what it's supposed to do. I mean, I think that's the setup for everything these days. You know, they don't want men to defend women. They try to weaken our men. They try to discourage them. I mean, the whole feminist movement in itself is a way to kind of weaken men and to push forward that females could be independent and act independently. So no surprise there. I mean, I don't agree with it at all. I love a great, strong man, and I support them, and I hope that they support us, but it's just not like that anymore. I mean, things are just completely different. They've shifted, and it's discouraging, yes, but it's really upsetting. But I think this is the setup. This is what they want from our men. They want to weaken our men.
I mean, I guess maybe I live a little bit too online, and I haven't experienced it as much in a way that I can remember right now, this moment. I've always kind of been a guy's girl. I get along. I've been in business. I've had mentors that are men, and so I actually have had a lot more experiences negative with women, but like in this situation, even though you said don't think about media or the media side of it, I just remembered when Dylan Dennis was attacking Logan Paul's wife or fiance, whatever she was at the time, and I'm like a smaller account on Twitter, and I was just defending. I forget her name, but I was defending her, and immediately he reposted and all this stuff. But the whole thing is that he was posting all these pictures of people she had dated. I mean, he was attacking her, and people loved it. So what people on the outside are seeing is this works. This is how you get famous. You do things that are inappropriate, mean, misogynistic, whatever the word is, let's just do that because it works, it gets attention. And his tweets were getting millions and millions of views. So the young people out there that are looking up to, I want to be famous, I want to get attention, those are the types of events, people that they're looking up to. And I think that's why the culture's probably shifting this way.
Shemeka, final say, and I'm going to move on to a different topic.
Yeah, I will say that I do think it's been designed for men to be a lot more weaker than they used to be. And just to be fair, I'll say that some of that falls on women. We do have a big group of women that feel like, I'm equal to a man. I don't need a man. I can do this by myself. And there are a lot of women who put themselves in situations where I don't think men should actually die behind it. If you tell your woman, don't go here, and she goes and something happens, or if she is running off at the mouth when she could just be quiet and something happened, I think that there are times when women do put themselves in positions that men should not step in. But just looking at this particular situation, I don't see where she had done anything to provoke him and to get what he gave her. But there are times that women do provoke men. And of course, I don't feel a man should put his life on the line for a woman that can't shut up.
All right, we're going to move on. Somewhat in the same lane, Gregg Doyle went viral last week. He's a columnist for the Indianapolis Star, a sports columnist for the Indianapolis Star. He's been infamous in the sports writing lane for a long time. He's a bit socially awkward. So when I saw this story last week, or when this happened last week or 10 days ago, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA player, the college basketball star, has her first press conference in Indiana as the newest member of the Indiana Fever, the #1 overall draft pick. And Gregg Doyle did something awkward as a first question, and now it's come out this week that the Indianapolis Star has suspended him for 2 weeks, and as the top sports columnist at the Indianapolis Star, he's not going to be allowed to cover her games this summer, this season. Seems like a bit of an overreaction, but I want to play you all the interaction between Doyle and Caitlin Clark, and then there was a big, quick social media reaction that I thought kind of blew it out of proportion. I don't agree with what Doyle did here, but seems like a bit of an overreaction. Let's play the clip.
Hi, Caitlin. Gregg Doyle, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here.
That's him
I
doing
like
it.
that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay,
it's
well,
pretty
let's
cool.
start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. So,
that's what he did.
Yeah.
Twitter came after him because he's not a likable guy. He is awkward. Yeah. He kind of leaned into the controversy. I think he ended up writing a column about it and apologizing, and he did a bunch of little awkward things. They've suspended him for 2 weeks. He can't cover games. Is this an overreaction, Breanna?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, listen, if women want to be respected in the sports world, whether you're a player or you're in the media, you gotta stop being so sensitive. He's not being sexual. He's being just pretty benign, I think, just throwing up a heart sign, something that she does. It adds humor to it. He's probably trying to, as an awkward person, trying to find some middle ground before he jumps into it with his questions. I don't see anything wrong with it. We got to stop being so sensitive and suspending men for saying stuff or doing things like that are really just innocent. We've become way, way too sensitive as a society. That was a lot.
I'm going to take the other side, guys. I haven't been here for very long, but I do pay attention. And Caitlin Clark is the Taylor Swift of women's sports. And you know what? We do not mess with Taylor Swift. We do not mess with Caitlin Clark because the Swifties will come for you. The Clarksies, whatever you want to call them, are going to come for you. I feel like in media, in culture right now, I've never even heard. The only thing I heard about women's basketball, to be completely honest, is when the women's basketball player was stuck in Russia. That's the only thing I ever heard. And now we have America's sweetheart. I represented Charli D'Amelio. I mean, she was America's sweetheart. And if people were bullying Charli, I mean, TikTok would just take that video off. And you know what? I'm just saying, I'm not going to mess with Caitlin Clark because she's now become a cultural icon. And I do agree. I don't think he probably should have been suspended. But, you know, I think when she said, oh, you like that? It's like, sir, please calm your hormones or whatever's going on to be like, oh, yeah, we'll be good. It was awkward. But, yeah, you can't even be a creep around Caitlin Clark because she's the Taylor Swift of women's sports.
Mika?
Taylor and Caitlin both bleed once a month. They are normal, regular people. So I thought he was being a cornball, but she's a grown woman. If he was saying this maybe to a 9-year-old, it would seem like, oh my God, he's creepy. But he didn't sniff her. We've seen worse from the president of the United States. So to me, yes, it was awkward, but I don't think it was worth a suspension at all because he really didn't say anything out of the way. And even if he was flirting, she's grown. And so I just think that it was an overreaction. We're just doing too much.
I don't like Gregg Doyle at all. And we got a tiny bit of a personal history, most of it one-sided. He'll try to troll me or try to put, he'll get into some kind of trouble and say, and basically he'll tweet out something or say something like, no, but Whitlock's the real bad guy. Be mad at him or whatever. I don't like him, but I think we've completely overreacted here. This was nothing that they turned into something. And if I would say, even if I were Caitlin Clark, I would correct this. I would be like, hey guys, your top sports columnists can't cover my games because we had an awkward 3 seconds. I think that's a win for her. You're the brand spokesperson or whatever. That could be a win for her coming to his defense and saying, hey, this is too far. We can handle this as adults. He's learned his lesson. He can cover our games. That's a win for Caitlin Clark.
You may be right, and she could have handled it that way, but I think they are trying to brand her as America's sweetheart. Do not mess with her. And I worked in hospitality when I lived in San Diego, and so the bottle girls were, kind of revealing clothing, and they bring the bottles. And sometimes I'll never forget because we had this manager who it didn't matter if the people were spending, $10,000, $20,000 at the table. Now this was usually like something went too far. If they touched the girl or if they did really say something so disrespectful, I mean, it didn't matter how many bottles you got, you were out the door. And what I saw from like a team perspective is the girls felt respected. Like no amount of money is going to let me get disrespected. And I felt, and I saw it, that the women felt protected and just part of the team. So maybe that's what the team is trying to do with Caitlin Clark and the rest of the team and women's sports. So it just to me seems like a brand strategy that they're trying to make these girls like the All-American. We're not going to mess around any funny business. If you say something to try to get attention in a negative way, like you're out of here. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just think that's what the strategy is.
Strategy I disagree with, perhaps.
I don't know. I think the WNBA needs all the attention it could get, and so you're probably not going to want to kick out all the reporters. I think you need everyone to stay there. So I don't understand why you kick the guy out. You need all the coverage you can get. No one's watching.
Well, they're going to be watching the Indiana Fever. Caitlin's first game, I think, is tonight. Regular season game is tonight. But you have hit on something, Ari, that the WNBA is a woke league, and it's filled with feminists, and it's filled with LGBTQ feminists. And so them perhaps going overboard, pressuring the Indianapolis newspaper or whatever, probably makes sense for the typical brand and culture of the WNBA. We're the angry feminists, and we're drawing a line in the sand. And how dare you do anything that's 2 seconds of creepiness? We don't want it. We don't want it to happen to any of our other players. So we got a man we can punish and say, there go the bad guy. I don't think that's a smart play for the WNBA. If you look at their draft night, they just had their biggest, most important draft ever, where all the women primarily that got drafted that night all presented themselves in a very feminine way that everybody loved. And everybody was like, oh man, I watch women play basketball. I don't want to watch women that think they're men playing basketball. I want to watch women that are happy being women. And that's been a great pivot for the WNBA and has led to, so I think the WNBA is a little bit schizophrenic right now. They've had this old ID or identity where we're the angry women and we're all Megan Rapinoe inside, and Caitlin Clark and this new group or Angel Reese represents something else. I'm going to go back to, this is a mistake for the WNBA. This is old school WNBA. We're angry feminists. How dare this man in any way flirt with us? Doesn't he know we hate men?
I mean,
I agree.
I disagree. Go ahead. You
go ahead.
Yeah, Shemeka.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. This was old school WNBA rhetoric, because if we're going to be taking a different approach, if these women are going to be coming out looking like women, men flirt. That's just what they do. And I don't like the way that we have over the years acted as if men shouldn't flirt. Men shouldn't look at us. Men shouldn't tell us that we're beautiful. Men like what they see sometimes, things, that are appealing to the eye, men respond. So in my opinion, Caitlin is not all that much of a looker to me. She should have felt very good that this man was even saying, hey, do this to me. That's just my opinion. I don't like the idea that we've made men feel like they're thirsty or they can't compliment us. I hate when a man says, I hope this doesn't offend you, but you look beautiful. It should never offend us. And I think we should just let people be people. I don't think he crossed the line. And I do think the response was angry feminists. It's the blue-haired, pink-haired, fat, ugly woman response. And I think they should have done better.
Ari, you going to defend that?
I just think it's not that deep. I don't think it's about wokeness. I don't think it's about angry feminists. I think it's like, the WNBA has an opportunity to be an all-American brand that's inclusive, that young people look up to these women. And if, they want them to have this fan base that's protective of Caitlyn and the other players, just like Taylor Swift fans are protective of Taylor. Like, for example, if Taylor Swift is friends with somebody and that person follows Scooter Braun on Instagram, the Swifties go nuts. Why is he following Scooter Braun? Because Taylor has beef with Scooter Braun. So they go nuts over it because they're protecting, and it's the fandom. And so it's this understanding of how cultural and fandoms are built. And Charli D'Amelio is another great example. She came up kind of out of nowhere.
For those of us that are old
Yes.
farts, who's Charli D'Amelio?
Charli D'Amelio is the biggest TikTok star. She came up on TikTok in 2019. I think she makes $17 million a year, or her family does.
What?
She has a Hulu show about her family, about being a content creator. She does brand deals. I mean, I saw she has a Dunkin' Donuts. She was in the Dunkin' Donuts commercial with all those stars in the Super Bowl. Addison Rae, another one I represented, she was also in the Super Bowl. So the reason why they went to superstardom is because all these brands are like, this is the American dream now for young people. They want to be the Charli D'Amelio. They don't see themselves as, young men used to see themselves as like, I want to be Michael Jordan. That dream looks very hard to accomplish if you're not tall, if you're not all these things. But to be a social media star, well, Charli did it, and what was she before? She was just going to high school. So I think that these young people idolize, these social media stars, and so I think probably the people around Caitlyn are seeing the attention that she's getting. We could make her that next Charli D'Amelio, Taylor Swift. And I think it's a good strategy, honestly. I would want to keep the negativity away. I wouldn't want to have people, attention is a currency in the day that we live in today. So if you're allowing negative attention into the realm, well, you're allowing that money to be spent, that currency. So if you say, I'm only going to allow positive currency around these women, I just think it's a strategy, and I don't think it's a bad one, but that's my opinion.
I just have one correction for Ari. Just one correction. She said the Swifties will go nuts. I want to say the Swifties are nuts. That's the only correction that I have. Everything else you said was right. They love attention, and these kids do see social media stars and think, I can do that. So I do agree with that.
Let's move on to a topic where we're probably all going to agree, although Ari will probably be most passionate in her agreement. We'll talk a little bit about Taylor Lorenz and just how dangerous she is, or how much, and I may want to I don't want to juxtapose to anything else, but let's watch. Taylor Lorenz is the former New York Times. Maybe she's still with the Washington Post. She's one of the most infamous alleged journalists in the world. She tried to cancel Ari at one point. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But here's Don Lemon, of all people, shutting down Taylor Lorenz. Let's watch this.
Well, then, Taylor, how do you reconcile the way marginalized groups, many of the people in these marginalized groups, obviously they are fighting for Palestine, right, for the Palestinians and for what's happening in Gaza. But yet in Gaza, they would not have any freedom. They don't
have freedoms in Texas and Florida. Does that mean?
But they don't. But I understand that. But Taylor,
Taylor,
I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. If I go to Texas, they're not going to throw me off of a roof. They're not going.
Don Lemon making an accurate point for once. Does that make us feel better about Don Lemon, or are we just celebrating that Taylor Lorenz, everybody beats up on Taylor Lorenz? Free for all on Taylor Lorenz. I'll let
you go first. You have the honor.
You know what, guys? I will say something I've never said in any other interview, so you heard it here first. I forgive Taylor Lorenz. I'm a Christian, and you know what? I really pray for her because she has a lot of issues, in my opinion. I don't think she's necessarily a very happy person. She's said online that she's skipped multiple holidays with her family for the last 4 years because she's very concerned about getting sick. She said she's immunocompromised. Anyway, So Taylor, I forgive you. I don't even know if you care, but I do. But outside of that, I do think that it's important people can recognize the type of characteristics that Taylor has, because Taylor is a type of fake journalist and cry bully that basically feigns victimhood to attack other people. I don't know if it's to get more famous or because she actually disagrees with them, but regardless, I just think that people should know that this is kind of the caricature of how somebody in the media acts when they are deceptive and dishonest and malicious, and so that if you meet somebody like that in your career, in your day-to-day, that you can stay away from them and know how to survive them, survive if they come and attack you. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't know that was Taylor because I didn't see her mask on, so I didn't recognize her at first. It's kind of crazy with her without a mask on, but honestly, the crazier part was Don Lemon being on the right side of this issue. I mean, the fact that he's even admitting that, like, he would be killed in Palestine rather than in Texas is pretty bizarre because he's very dramatic most of the time, and he's usually pretty off. So it's interesting to hear him say that. I mean, Taylor it seems like she just wants to be on the right, the furthest left side of things, and that's the reason why she was talking about this issue. It didn't make any sense. And so I don't think Don really had a choice. He had to correct her because it was completely inaccurate what she was saying.
Shemeka, you have any thoughts on? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to Don Lemon, I think even a broken clock is right twice a day. So, I mean, I'm not shocked. And when it comes to Lorenz, I need someone to check to see if she's a Swiftie. It's something in the eyes. I just need somebody to find that out for me.
No.
She's not a Swiftie, but she's lost. Yeah. What was she doing at the porn awards? What is
diseases that goes there?
Yeah,
I was showing you that she went on the No Jumper podcast, where it's very adult entertainment, owned by these guys that are in adult entertainment. And anyway, she gets asked why she's so, why the immunocompromising, why she's always talking about COVID. And she starts ranting about all these things, but she says, oh yeah, and by the way, I got COVID outside. It's like, how do you know you got COVID outside, miss? Like, are you like have a microscope and you know where the germs are? I mean, nobody knows at what exact moment they got COVID. So the fact that she says that should just discredit anything else she has to say in that conversation.
Yeah.
But there's this video, she's a journalist. For is she still with the Washington Post?
So she left the New York Times. I think that was her big prestigious thing. And then I filed a defamation lawsuit against Taylor Lorenz. And within 3 days or so of us filing the lawsuit, she actually stopped tweeting. And she used to tweet incessantly. So my gut tells me somebody at New York Times was like, you really need to stop your crazy tweeting because you already got us in a lawsuit. And I think she couldn't handle not tweeting because she was silent basically on social media for many, many months. And then it was like, oh, announcement, I'm at Washington Post. So I'm going to go ahead and take credit for her leaving New York Times. You're welcome, everybody. But yeah, she's at the Washington Post. And
so she's at the Washington Post. I used to work for corporate media places. I just don't know if when I worked in corporate media, I couldn't show up at porn awards. I couldn't be on videos dancing at some point. And I think, do we have the video? Or we have the pictures of her? And so I just don't understand. And she's masked up at whatever these porn awards are. What is it about these kooky people and their connection to sexual perversion? And just, I just don't understand how a journalist, well, yeah, I'm going to be at a porn deal. I'm going to be pictured dancing and celebrating at some point. I don't. She is hard for me to fathom. This is where I always go like she's a plant. They caught her at Diddy's house. They got her on camera at Diddy's house, and now they got puppet strings on her, and she's probably in some way connected to Joe. She showers with Joe Biden.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, one obvious connection, peel back the curtain of the entertainment world, about it, is talent agencies, right? So your talent agent is the one that's booking you on a deal, is helping you get a book deal. and connecting you with other people that they represent. So one of the things that I found out is that Taylor Lorenz is represented by United Talent Agency. She was, at least, and they got her a book deal. That's why when I lost my business because of her article, many of my clients left and were signed at UTA. So and talent agencies are notoriously cutthroat, I think, in the entertainment industry, so it may not just be them, but in just this particular situation. But if you go back and look at Don Lemon's guests on his show and who they're represented by, it's like Kara Swisher, she's got a page on UTA. It's the last, I think, several people that he's had on his podcast are all UTA. So who knows? Maybe UTA has a stake in the porn awards or something like that. You never know. Somebody should dig into that.
I'll pass.
I might. This is business research.
Just doing some research.
Let me move on to another female influencer that's always in the news cycle. I want to state on record, I'm a fan of Pearl Davis, Pearly Things. She's been on my show twice. She's been here in studio with me. But I also look at a lot of things that Pearl does, and I kind of grit my teeth and go, Pearl, what are you doing? She's bickering back and forth with people that I like, Lauren Chin, Allie Beth Stuckey, or whatever. She's got a really strident narrative on what she calls tradcon women or tradcon wives or what. You all's thoughts, and Shemeka, I'm gonna let you go first here. Your thoughts on Pearl Davis?
Pearl doesn't bother me simply because I think she's 27, 28 years old. By the time I was 27, 28, I was married. I had children. My second one was on the way. I had a house. I had everything that I feel like she really desires. So she doesn't bother me. Also, because she makes these general statements, and I'm smart enough to add my own quantitative words to that. So when she says, you're ugly at this age, you look better, and men don't want middle-aged women, that's really, to me, a smart tactic because most people can't add those statements for themselves to know that it's most or many or some men don't want middle-aged women. And I think she does a good job in getting people fired up. But for me, it doesn't bother me because even at my age now, I don't have that issue with men finding me attractive. So I think generally her statements are true. I think I truly did look better 30 years ago than I do now, but I just don't have a man issue. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me upset. And I think she's smart enough to know that the way she words things gets people all riled up, and it's making her very popular.
Breanna, you first, because I got a specific question for Ari.
Yeah, I just don't understand why. I mean, I understand. It's all clickbait, right? So everyone says these things, and they're crazy, they're wild, and they get people interested and intrigued, and they want to follow her, they want to debate back and forth. It seems jealousy, some of the things that she says, because she's not living up to her own set of standards that she publicly says. When it comes to being a young woman, the whole virgin part that she constantly brings up, that men are looking for someone close to a virgin, it doesn't add up to her own personal life. So it's a little strange how she has those takes. There was another tweet I actually forwarded over to you, it was deleted, her saying that girls at 16 are more attractive than 26-year-olds. That's been removed. It's strange, it's bizarre. I don't understand it. I think, we live in interesting times where a lot of people say crazy things to get people interested. And I think that's what it is. But I also think a lot of it's jealousy. I mean, I'm used to being around women, and I know women tend to say things when they're aggressive and they're mean. It's because there's something wrong in their life that they're personally upset about.
Can a woman, because this is what I find interesting about Pearl, she's built a very good following by being a brawler. She brawls with everybody. Is that sustainable, you think, for a female influencer?
It's funny that you say that because I don't know how in the realm of the internet I got connected to her, and I just so happened to be, I guess, saying a point that she believed in, so she kept tweeting what I was saying. And I guess by association, a lot of people in that TradCon social media world, I think, were angry at me. And I ended up having a conversation with her, and I asked Pearl that. I said, well, you're going to be 30 soon. By the way, I'm not going to say my age, but I'm single. I have a partner, but I am single and unmarried and don't have kids. So I am the person that you might say Pearl is talking to when she's saying, let's say, mean things or triggering things. But I don't get triggered by them because I know that even if it were true, which I don't believe it is, I'm the exception anyway. So I'm not going to get mad about that. I know that if you really want to do something with your life and you want to meet someone, then go out and meet someone. I have a lot of thoughts about that as well. But anyway, what I realized is that I think people don't really know where Pearl is coming from. She doesn't really talk a lot about her personal life. I think she did one interview with like a therapist or something like that. It's on YouTube. And everybody is coming from some place. And if you don't give them, if you automatically react to them antagonistically, you're never going to find out what is the humanity inside them. And listen, I'm not saying you have to like her or dislike her, but it was interesting for me hearing a little bit more about her story. And again, I would never want to manage her respectfully, but if I was her manager, I'd say like, what is your plan? And she didn't really know. She just said, I worked really hard to build what I built. She was doing those round tables, kind of like the Whatever podcast or whatever. And I think that type of stuff gets boring because it's just kind of brain rot at some point. And so she kind of got into another thing of basically defending men, but instead of defending men, now she's just like, women shouldn't vote. And so she says these things for the rage bait of it all, but I think at her core, she believes something, and like there is something she believes in what she's saying, but she does it in a very like audacious way so that she can get attention.
So, and tell me if I'm being sexist or stupid, but it's like, I'm considered polarizing, and I'm good with that. Can a woman influencer be polarizing and that be their brand and also be happy? And maybe I'm just being sexist here and saying like, I can be polarizing, I'm a man, I can handle it. I don't know if a woman would want to be this polarizing because, again, I look at the way women react, and I'm speaking in general, it's like they get mean tweets and it seems to hurt them a lot more than the mean tweets that I get. And so I'm asking any of you all.
It's a lot more lucrative to be positive, that's for sure, because she has gotten demonetized on YouTube. I don't know the story, the lore of what happened, but I'm a brand person. You have to remember this. So I'm thinking like, I want to work with the big brands. I mean, just as a person, I am a more positive person. I will speak the truth, and I try to speak out if people are getting bullied unfairly and that type of thing. But at the same time, like, I would like my brand to be positive because then it's not just more lucrative. That's going to be my legacy. If you're okay with your legacy being the villain, and I don't understand that point of view, so I don't know. Maybe some people are okay with it. I've certainly represented people in the past that were villains only because they saw, oh, this is what everybody's going to make me, so I'm going to be the best villain ever, and I'm going to monetize that. Do I think those people are happy? Not in my experience of knowing them.
You forced me into a good answer. Hold for 1 second, Shemeka, and then chime in. I don't, and I'm going deep here, or deeper than where we have been. I don't think it's healthy for a woman to carry as much negative energy around as a man does, because a woman carries a child in her womb, and you start pumping that negative energy, that anxiety that people feel, you start pumping that into a child. I think it's unhealthy for a child. And like, people are in denial of just fundamental differences between men and women. And we should have different roles because we're different. Again, you start carrying a child inside you rather than just fat like me, that's a whole different exercise, discipline, requires a different set of energy. And that's where, again, I just say, I agree. Women want, or everybody wants to be liked, but I think it's even more important for a woman to come into a room and feel like, hey, everybody's good with me. I'm not in danger here. There's no one sitting around thinking about, blah, blah. When I've been walking around for a long time, and it's not that I want to be the villain, but I know that when you tell the kind of bold, uncompromising truths that a Matt Walsh tells or I tell, you're going to get some blowback and heat, and I just got to deal with that. I don't think it's proper for a woman to carry that burden. That may be the sexism in me, but it's just how I feel, and that's why I just think like Pearl, she can't be happy. Who wants to be fighting? Wake up every day and I'm fighting on Twitter. Shemeka, you jump in, then Breanna, I want your reaction.
Yeah, I think it's okay to be polarizing if that's authentic for you. If she's truly being authentic, then I think it could last. When you're not being authentic, something is going to be a breakdown. There's going to be a breakdown somewhere. Either you're going to have to keep pretending for years just so you can be polarizing, or that brand is going to change. Because what I know for sure, and this goes to your point, Jason, once you have children, once you find a man that you love, there is going to be a certain softness. There's going to be a certain happiness that you exude that you can't hide. So to me, I think if Pearl is just being authentic, which I don't think she is, I think this is just her shtick and she knows that it's going to get clicks and make money. If you're being authentic, that's fine and you can last. But when you are just doing something for the money and you're having to pretend, that's going to get hard at some point. Whether it's because you're tired of trying to pretend because your life is not matching what you're putting out there online, or if people are just going to say, you know what, this isn't real and I'm just not interested anymore.
Yeah, there's a way to push back on the whole feminist movement without being overly aggressive and putting women down. And I think she misses that constantly. It's the audience specifically to me seems like it's an audience of men who are bitter about maybe a bad breakup and they just all generalize women after that. It just seems like that's what her audience is. It's not trying to pull women over and say, hey, listen, feminism is toxic. Why don't you guys come over here and let's start doing some more traditional things. I actually do believe that women need to start going back to our traditional roots, and I truly do believe in that. But then you see her attacking women who I would say are positive role models for others, and I just don't think that is good at all.
I think Pearl, my interactions with her showed me that I think she just doesn't have that many girlfriends, right? And because people aren't willing to maybe talk to her outside of the internet or whatever, they don't really get to know her. And you're a product of the people around you, right? And so if you're around people that are just antagonistic towards you or just yes men to you because they're on your show or whatever, you're never going to have somebody that's going to tell you the truth because they care about you. And also for me, it's like, I see the negativity that it's putting into the world. And I actually think she's really smart. And I think that some of her intelligent statements that she could make are overshadowed by the kind of nasty things she says. And for example, like we agreed on a subject, but she was calling the other person like a whore and and all these words, which I would never use to make a statement. So, and on one of the occasions, she got something wrong, and I texted her and I said, hey, you got this wrong, and she corrected it. So how can she get better if she doesn't have better people in her life? And so for the people that were mad at me for talking to her, I am glad that I talked to her. And by the way, I am a spicy Latina and I will say my point, but I'm not gonna overshadow that with bad words. And it's like a low blow. You almost are just discrediting yourself by not bringing that intelligence, because I do see her, I know that the marriage system for men is very difficult. It is, if you get divorced and you're a man, there's all sorts of things that happen. I mean, and I've seen that multiple times. So if that was going to be who she's going to stand up for, then do it in an intelligent and articulate way that's not just trashing people for fun.
All right, Pearl, that's all the help I can give you today. I want to move on to Shaquille O'Neal's wife said something interesting that I would love to get you all's reaction to. She did an interview, I believe, or wrote something for Essence. She's got a book coming out where she says, looking back, Shawnee is her name, looking back, I don't know that I was ever really in love with the man, but I was in love with the idea of being married to the man I had a family with. I was in love with the idea of building a life together. I truly did enjoy spending time with him. She's talking about Shaquille O'Neal. NBA road trips allowed me to be with my husband and experience the NBA life for a little while. What do we, is she saying like I was in love with the money, the fame, and really wasn't in love with the man? Should we be upset with her for acknowledging this, or is she just being real and transparent and talking about the way she felt at a different stage in their life? Shaq responded very maturely and said and responded back that, yeah, I don't blame her for not being in love with the man that she was married to, because he was basically saying, I wasn't a good person. But do you have any problems, or what should we read into what Shawnee O'Neal, I think her last name is now Henderson, or she's gone back to her maiden name Henderson. Breanna, problem with what she's saying? Or
They have kids, and that's the part I feel really heartbroken about, because my parents love each other dearly and they're together, and it's probably one of my favorite moments of my childhood is always seeing my parents together and just always loving each other. And I think hearing her say that about their father, I think is going to have devastating effects on them, whether they're older now. I think it's just a heartbreaking thing to have to hear. I think he handled it like a class act. From what I've been told in the past, though, there was some infidelity issues involved there. And so that might have made her a little numb and have that kind of a cold reaction to it. It's heartbreaking. And I don't know why she'd publicly say that. I think we put too much out there for the world to have to listen to. It's our personal relationships, how we deal with one another. I don't have to say everything about our interactions. I don't have to have the world know what our marriage was like. But for some reason, we're saying it now either just to say it or saying it to sell a book. And I don't think it's acceptable to do to other people. I think we should all have a little bit of kindness and not do that. If you want to have a discussion, have that discussion with somebody one-on-one. But putting it out there for everyone else to judge, I just don't think is acceptable.
I don't know. I'm a little torn because I do think it's an authentic thing to say. I worked with celebrities a lot of my career, and I guess there's a level of like power. Like did she say she didn't love him, or she said?
I don't know that I was ever really in love with the man, is what she said.
So like I've had an experience, not with anybody, an athlete or a celebrity, but I've had an experience with somebody where I felt like they were powerful and I felt like they loved me. And so I don't think I had ever been in love. And so I think that the attention, I felt like Cinderella, like somebody was sweeping me off my feet and treating me like a princess. And my whole life,
Hunter Biden?
No.
I know, I heard that rumor too.
No, don't start rumors. Okay?
I'm joking.
But looking back now, I would say the same thing. Now, I never married that man. I don't have children with that person. And so, but I think that, at that time, I thought I was in love, but I didn't realize what love was. And so I think that there's some level of excitement, things like that when you're a young person and somebody sweeps you off your feet. But and she didn't say anything about, I don't think how he treated her badly, right, in that particular part. But so, yeah, I don't think it was that bad. I understand it, but I understand what you're saying about the kids, so.
Shemeka, I don't even, why is she writing a book? If she wasn't married to Shaq, would anybody care about her book? That's one of my big problems is why is she writing a book? What did she do interesting?
Yeah, and I think that is part of her point, that she woke up one day and realized that everything that she had was because of him, and she hadn't really done anything to leave a legacy to her children. And that's why she started Basketball Wives. It was kind of out of desperation just for her to have something of her own to say that she actually did something or created something. So I do think that she'll have a fan base from Basketball Wives, which of course course, we would not know her if it wasn't for Shaq. But, I think that a lot of us that have followed them or known about their relationship over the years, we're pretty much aware of the fact that Shaq did not treat her right and that there was a lot of cheating going on, because he has said this on several occasions that he was just a terrible husband. And so I think it's okay for her to acknowledge what he's already put out there. Yes, he was not the best husband, but she says they have a really good relationship now. We've seen them on camera together. They get along. I think that's great. They, both love the kids. They're raising the kids together. But I think also a point that people are missing is she's now married to a pastor. So I'm thinking as a Christian woman, she sees love a lot differently now than she did 20 years ago or whenever her and Shaq were together. So I think now she's probably saying, I don't think I was ever really in love with him. And when you come to know what love is truly as a Christian, she's probably looking at different things and saying, what I have now with my partner in Christ, the way we're living now is so totally different from then. This is love that maybe wasn't love. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking. She's just grown as a woman and she's actually seeing what real love is in Christ.
I love that point. And with all three of you just keeping it real, being attractive, I think you've been in the same position perhaps as her at some point. They're obviously not married or and now divorced, but the idea of oh, look at all this success and look at how easy my life will be, and we can take these wonderful vacations and our kids will have everything. And now she gets to real adulthood and into a real relationship, and she probably has redefined what love is. And she's like, man, and again, I don't know how she grew up, but let's say she grew up not financially sound. And so you can just oh man, I'm gonna be financially sound. That's gonna be awesome. And this was my real point, is that, and this is why I brought up about all three of you being attractive and just having been approached by men like Shaq, particularly when you were younger, where he's probably not going to be faithful, and he may have even somewhat indicated he's not going to be faithful. Because I got friends and I know guys that are like, she knew who I was when I married her. Mm-hmm. I was a hoe when she married me. Why is it? She know I'm not going to change. I've been there, and a woman thinks she can handle that, and then it's like, man, this is an affront to me, and why did I even sign up for this? Am I saying something is this ring true at all?
I mean, I totally agreed with Shemeka, and I do agree with you. I mean, I'm in love and I'm happy, and I don't care if you're the richest man in the world and I met you, I wouldn't be going for it because I know what I have, and it's like I never experienced that, and I was around celebrities all the time. And by the way, I just thought of something, because I've met Shaq at an event, and he's not just a celebrity. Him and Michael Jordan, I've met dozens of celebrities. There's something about those two people that when you see them walk in a crowd, it's like they're elevated. I took a picture with Shaq. I'm like, at his knees, by the way. But there's something about he's iconic, and that was just, that was a couple of years ago. Forget about when he was at the height of his career. So I can only imagine what that must have been like. So yeah, I mean, and especially if she already had talked about it, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Maybe she does want to leave some type of a legacy, but also it's like, well, you already have all that money. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she didn't think it was going to affect her family, but I definitely agree that once you have the love and you see the type of relationship that God brings you, it's like, I don't want anything to do with that other mess. I don't care about the money.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably spot on. She probably knew before marrying him what kind of man he was, but There's some women who really just love the lifestyle, and I think she detailed that too as well, how she loved the lifestyle. So you kind of get what you get. But as you grow, and all women, as we grow older and we kind of gauge what we want, what we value kind of changes. And I think that's where she's landed now in her life, it sounds like. So I don't really have any sympathy though, because, you know, athletes are athletes. You know what you're going to get when you go with them.
Yeah.
Final say, Shemeka?
Yeah, no, she says she wouldn't change anything. Like, she has no regrets and she would do it all over again, even the hurt and the pain, the happy times, so that she could become the woman that she is now. So I think that that's great. You know, a lot of times we go through things and it makes us who we are today. And if you think that you're a better person now than you were 20 years ago, you don't want to change anything, because it actually made you who you were. And so I think it's good for her. I do love the fact that they get along and that they have a mutually respectful relationship and love towards one another. So I think that's good.
I know Shemeka's the only one here with kids. She's got 3 daughters. But I wanted you all's thoughts. Boy Scouts of America is changing now to just Scouts of America to be inclusive. And you know, this whole destruction of female spaces, male spaces, and we all just need to get together in the same bathroom. We all just need to compete against each other in the same sports. And now Boy Scouts has been demonized and run off the map, and now it's just Scouts of America. Am I wrong for connecting all these things? Don't we need male spaces, female spaces? Isn't that a better way?
Yeah, I'd say so. You hit it spot on, because that's where I was going to go with this discussion, because there's nothing more infuriating than women losing our spaces. And then now boys are going to start losing their spaces. I mean, I don't understand why we keep allowing this to happen. These groups create us, they give us character. They give us the character that we become as adults, and we learn a lot from it. We learn a lot from just bonding with women, girls. You learn a lot when you're boys, and it kind of translates into becoming a man. So I don't understand why we're allowing this to happen. We don't need it to be inclusive. And we're also talking about kids, and I was reading into this too. Like, they're trying to be inclusive to the LGBT plus community. I mean, children shouldn't be talking about these things. It should just be lifestyle, figuring out things, like giving people like a skill set, giving these kids a skill set. Why are we talking about sex with these kids? I don't care what their sex lives want to be when they're adults. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. It's creating and helping them develop skills that will change their lives. And that's where we're losing it. And we're losing it across all platforms.
I think I'm going to let you guys comment on this, because I didn't read the whole article, and I'm very much a person that's like, I need to read the whole article. I need to not just read the headline. There will maybe be another side of the story. I'm not saying there is or there isn't, but I mean, I agree that when you're young, if you get put into sports camp or anything, it should be to build your skill sets of being leadership, of dealing with adversity. I think everybody gets bullied. I think that one thing I will say is that kids are learning to feign victimhood for attention because they see that it works. In my situation, I was representing like dozens of TikTokers who are over 18, and they were living in these houses that I had rented for them so they could make content. I mean, the house was like pink and purple and whatever. And at one point when they were angry with me because I said, you guys are not allowed to drink here, like, you know, you guys can't be throwing things into the pool from the roof. I mean, just basic things, right? And they got angry with me. I went to the house one time, and there was one of them, basically, I said, hey guys, they were all screaming at me, and I said, I'm here by myself. And the guy, I think he was like 25, he gets up on the stairs and he's like, I am a black man. I can't believe you just said that to me. I am offended. And I'm like, all I said is I'm here by myself, guys. And when Taylor Lorenz was interviewing me about the story, she didn't end up putting in it, but she said, you know, it was alleged that you said something racist while this person was on the stairs. And I said, no, I have the video because I was filming them. But if I hadn't been filming, by the way, I had I was allowed to film, this is my property, whatever. But my point is that people see that works, that feigning victimhood works. So what do? They just copy, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Okay, so I don't know whether these kids were feigning victimhood or, the people that are putting this in place are saying it's because these kids are victims, because they're LGBTQ and there's no acceptance for them. I don't know. But I definitely am somebody that stands against fake victimhood and cry bullies. So
I want to linger in this story just a tiny bit more. You are not a tall person. Can I say that without offending you?
No,
you're not a
5 feet tall.
Yeah.
I'm little Miss Jacob.
Yeah. and maybe 100 pounds, I'm not sure, somewhere on that spectrum.
Very charitable.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, you say to a group of young people like, hey, I'm here by myself. I'm little Miss Jacobs, I'm here. And this guy thinks you're making or tries to turn it in, you're making a racial comment, like you're unsafe because a black man is here?
Mm-hmm. And he was like very tall. I don't know, definitely 6 foot. And then that same day, I was frazzled because I'm like, this is just so antagonistic. And I tried to get out of the house, and he was there carrying things out, whatever. And I just went like this to his back and walked out. And he's, you pushed me, she pushed me. Did you guys get that on camera? So I mean, the pendulum has swung this way.
Where'd you push him at, in the knee?
Beat him up, punched him in the knee.
There you go. Hold your own.
But
Holy
yeah, so
cow.
I saw a lot of that going on. And the kids are live streaming these things. I mean, it's just like the kids that, their parents are upset with them and they start live streaming. I forget who in politics did that, but regardless. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Shemeka, Boy Scouts, or comment on Ari getting harassed for saying, I'm here by myself.
Yeah, that was a beta male, Ari. Don't sweat it. Listen, my eyes are open, whether they're black, white, it doesn't matter. If I'm by myself, I'm going to, feel some type of way. When it comes to the Boy Scouts, I hate it. I was a Girl Scout, and I was a Girl Scout actually from Brownie through Cadet. I had to beg my mother to let me out in high school because she would make me wear my cadet shirt to school, and I just started to get really embarrassed. So like around 10th grade, I'm like, Ma, please let me get out of Girl Scouts. But I love Girl Scouts. I love learning how to bake, learning how to sew. I would not have wanted to learn how to do a slip knot. And I do think them taking boy out of it is, again, designed to blur the gender lines. And I just don't like it. My oldest daughter was also a Girl Scout, but by the time the younger two came through, I got very protective of just anything that looked like it was going to confuse them. So I just don't like the idea that they feel as if we can't have Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. They did totally different things when I was coming up, and it was fine and it was great. And I agree with Ari, or no, I think it was, I'm sorry, not Ari, but when
Breanna.
you say, Breanna, when you say that this is they shouldn't be talking about sex with children, you're absolutely right. It should not even come across the mind of a little child. You should not be interested in sex at all. And if I was younger and some man had said to me, one of my teachers, are you straight or gay? My uncles would have set the school on fire. This is not a conversation that is okay, yet we're making it okay. These kids should just be learning the things that they have to learn, whether that's in school, whether that's in Girl Scout. Sex and who makes you excited sexually should never be a topic. And I just don't like what they're doing now. I hate the idea of Scouts. We're going to have these little boys walking around with a tie on their neck in dresses. They're going to be wearing dresses and being feminine, and I just don't like it.
I saw this next topic on TJ Moe's Twitter feed. Can we put this picture on screen or image on screen? And someone tweeted out, can we normalize this? And it's a series of pictures of women proposing to men. And do we really want to normalize this? Is this empowerment? Is this what you ladies are looking forward to? You want to be proposing to a man? We need to normalize this?
Okay, so full disclosure, my parents have been married for 40 years. And well, the reason why they're married is because my mom proposed.
Really?
It wasn't like she didn't get on her knee. That's like, no. She's just like, you want to get married? And he's like, all right, but you got to do all. And she did everything.
Yeah.
So they got married. And then my sister actually got married because she proposed to her boyfriend. And now they're married. So this is a thing. Sometimes, you men don't know the good thing that's in front of you. And so it's our job as women to grab you by your neck and drag you down the aisle and show you what the good thing is. Just kidding. But it does work sometimes. I mean, my parents are very happy. My sister's very happy. So I don't judge anyone.
I wasn't expecting that.
I know.
Ari?
Your parents didn't put it on social media, right?
No, that wasn't a thing.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm always like torn on these things because everything that we see, we're giving it more attention, right? I was just watching the 48 Laws of Power. They say, like, if you don't like something or something is giving you, is more powerful than you're not supposed to give it attention. But I do think it's interesting. I mean, it wouldn't be for me. I don't think, I don't know about normalizing it. I still don't think it's normalized. These are probably, you look at these, even your stories, it's like, sounds like an anomaly.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of stories of how people end up getting married. I mean, it's sometimes the person, they've been engaged for a long time and the person says, okay, enough, and leaves. And then it's like, oh, no, I want to get married right now. I don't know. I'm not married. My boyfriend, sometimes I see his Instagram feed going, I'm like, why are they feeding you so many engagement rings? Is that what you've been searching? But no, I think it's just a matter of, you have to have that conversation, I think, with the person that you're with and be comfortable to have it. I guess if they say something to you like, well, I'd be more comfortable if you proposed. I mean, if you really love them, maybe that's something you consider, but I would hope that if somebody really loves you and you sit down and talk to them and say, hey, this is really important to me that we're married and we do this the right way. And I don't know, those things are important to some people. I wasn't like the little girl that was dreaming about my wedding when I was a little kid. I was like doing business, pretending I was in a business thing. But some little girls are getting dressed up in their wedding dress when they're 5. And so whatever it is that you want, I guess. I'm not hating on anybody's like you.
We normalize this, Shemeka?
It wouldn't be normal for me. I do think whatever works for other people, but it wouldn't be my preference. I would just assume that any man I would have to propose to shaves his underarms. And I don't want any type of femininity in any man that I'm interested in. I want him to be like, you woman, me man, hit me over the head with a club and throw me over his shoulder. I want manly man, and I don't want to have to propose.
Final question. It's been raging over the internet or over social media. Some people are saying, I think we got a video that'll set this up. As a woman, would you rather run into a man or a bear in the woods? Let's play the video.
Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear?
Bear. Man is scary.
With a bear. Well, I've heard about bears. They don't always attack you, right? Unless you fuck with them. So maybe a bear.
Depends what man, but probably a bear.
Oh, 100% a bear, which is terrifying to say, but
Definitely a bear. Some men are very scary out there.
a bear.
I would say a man.
So, ladies, you get the final say on this. Man or bear if you're stuck in the woods?
Man.
Man.
Shemeka?
Definitely
why?
a man.
All right, give me a quick why, and doesn't have 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Why man over bear? All common
Well,
sense,
I think
but
it's just illogical to think that a bear is going to be better for you. None of us are Goldilocks. These bears are real creatures. They're beasts, and a man would actually be safer.
Are y'all aware that the Russians taught bears? Bears are very trainable. In war, the Russians taught bears to help them out in war, and so I'm not arguing on account of the bears, but there is a bear side of the story if you know how to train them.
Well, Joe Rogan is afraid of bears. I'm pretty sure he said it on his podcast. So if Joe Rogan is afraid of them, I'm going to go ahead and just like take the cue. But I will say, peek behind the curtain of the content world. Anytime you do a man on the street video, it literally does not matter what you say. They have done studies. People want to listen. It's just a thing. So that's why we're paying attention to it.
Awesome. Ladies, thank you so much. We'll play some tomorrow, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom.